Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is part 23 for step-by-step guide to learn Angular. So if you are directly coming to this video, I will recommend you to watch previous video first and then you can come to this video. You can find the link in the description block. These are the topics we are going to cover in this complete video series, and today we are going to talk about guard, and this is the application we are going to develop in this complete video series. So first, let's understand what is a guard. So guard help us to prevent the navigation of certain parts. So why we need that? Let me show you example. This is our login screen, and what I'm going to do is without login in the browser window, I'm going to access my home page and our to-do page. And as I am not logging, I should not be able to see that page. But if I will enter that URL directly in the browser, so I would be able to navigate here. Let me show you. So I can see our home dashboard page. Let's change the URL to to-do page, and I'm able to navigate to to-do also. But I should not do this. I should be prevent this navigation. And if user is trying to access our to-do, so what I should do is I should navigate back him to login page, and once he login, he should get back to to-do. For example, if you received this link in the email and when you click on this link, so you should come to here and then from here you should redirect back to login page. And once you enter your credentials, so application should have intelligence to get back to you on to do instead of home page. So that part also we are going to cover today. Let's navigate to security folder in our application and click enter, and now let's generate a guard using Angular CLI. Here G stands for guard and click enter. So these are the four types of guard we can see here. So I am going to use can activate child. The reason behind this, if I will see our module, let me open our app module. So we can see that we are having a children of to do and children of our home component, and that navigation I want to prevent. So instead of can activate, I'm going to use can activate child. So you can use space to select and deselect. So I'm going to use a space here to deselect can activate, and then use arrow key to move to down, and then again press space key. So I have selected can activated child now. Let's click on enter. So we can see our guard is created successfully. Let's open our auth card, and here step one is I am going to inject our security service. So let's write the constructor here, and this is our security service. Let's add the import, and now these are the return type for our guard method. So let's add our logic here. If security service dot security model is not null and security service dot model dot is authenticated is true, then I'm going to return true, else I'm going to return false. And let's remove this true statement. So creating this guard is not enough. I need to tell my module to use this guard. So let's start for that. But there is one issue in the naming of our auth card. So when we created using Angular CLI, so we suffixed the name a guard, but Angular CLI is doing that job for us. So let's quickly fix this. Now let's open our app module so we can see this is our app module, and let's go to our routing, and here I can see all the guards. So I'm going to use can activate child now, and here I can pass as a array. So let's pass our auth guard and let's paste it here and let's import it. Now let's copy and paste same for to do. So let's copy and paste it here. Now let's run our application using ng server command, and let's navigate to our link, control then click, and now again I will try to navigate to our dashboard component using this URL. So earlier I can see that dashboard component was loaded. Now let's see what happens. So now I cannot see dashboard, but instead I can see one blank page. Now let's try to load our to do. So again to do is not getting loaded and I can see one blank page. But instead of blank page, what I want is I want to navigate back to our login page. So let's start for that. So if you will see our guard and connectivate child method, so we can see the return type is observable of boolean or URL tree. Promise of boolean or URL tree or boolean or URL tree. So what we were using is we were using this boolean, but instead of boolean we can use URL tree as well. So here instead of returning the false, we can return the URL tree. So now for navigation, if you go back to the previous section, we used router class. So let's inject that router service here, and type of this is router. So it is a part of our Angular router package. And now let's remove this return false, and instead this dot router, and what we need is return type is URL tree. So inside the router service we are having a method create URL tree. So in that we need to pass commands as a array, any array. So let's keep one array here, and let's see our routing. So we can see if we pass empty string, so it will be navigate to our login component. So that's what I want. So let's pass empty string here, and we need to return the URL tree. So let's return this. So I am going to add return statement here and save this. Now let's try to repeat the same steps. So let's try to navigate to our dashboard, and now I came back to our login page. Again I am trying to access our to do, and again I came back to login page. So this is working fine. Now let me try to access our to do application, and I came back to login page. That's correct. And let me log in again. And what I want is I should redirect to to-do page, but what happening? Let's see. So after login, I came to dashboard, but I was trying to access to-do. So ideally, I should get to to-do page. So let's make that change. So now my login page should know which component, which page user wants to access. So I need to tell my login page, I need to pass that data. So how can I know that? So in the our guard, we are having one parameter that's called route router is state snapshot. So in that we are this is a state service, and in that we have a state of URL, what URL user is trying to access. I can show you here, like this is having a state dot URL. So suppose if you will try to access to do, so we will get a URL like home slash to do. If you will try to access our dashboards, we will get URL of home. So we by this we know the URL, and now I need to pass that URL. So here we can in the create URL tree we are having option. If I will give comma, so I can see navigation extras. So let's add one curly bracket because this is an object, and let's see what are the properties we are having. So these are the different properties we are having, and I am going to use query params here. So let's use query param, and let's add curly bracket here. So I can pass our query parameters. So I am giving a name this as a return URL. And what should be our return URL? Yes, correct. This is state.url. So let's cut this and paste it here. So by this, we are passing the return URL to our login page. Let's save this. Now, next step is I need to access this query parameter in login component. So if you don't know how to get the route information, we have a separate video for that. You can watch that also. Uh, let's go to our login component and in the constructor to get the query params. I hope you know we need activated route. So let's inject activated route service here. So I'm giving private, then activated route, and the type of this is activated route. So now instead of redirecting directly to home, I will give condition here. So let's give condition if this dot we have activated route now. So let's see the take this, and under that we have a snapshot. So let's take this, and what we are passing query params. So let's take this query params, and what is the param name what is our query params name? That's return URL. So let's copy and paste it here. So what I'm saying, if this return URL exists, this is not null, this is not undefined. So instead of redirecting to home page, let's redirect to our return URL. So I can keep condition this dot router, and instead of using navigate, we are having one more that's called navigate by URL. So I'm going to use this method, and let's pass our return URL here. So we can pass URL directly here. And if we don't have this return URL, suppose someone is coming directly, so he should go back to home page as earlier he was going. So I will add one else condition here, and let's close this and save all. And now let's see our changes. Now let's try to access to do again. So let's give URL home slash to do. So this time I can see that it's returned back to login, and we can see that query params return URL which is saying home then to do. So he is saying that this is a return URL after login. So now let's log in, and previously when we logged in, so we redirected to dashboard page. Now this time I hope we will redirect to do page. So I'm in password and let's submit. So yeah, it is working as expected, and we redirect back to do page. But still one more problem we need to fix. So this is a user I logged in earlier. So before we started, you can see this ID is 17. So before we started this video, I enabled to do and dashboard for this user. But what if this user is not having a to do access? So let's disable that. Now let's check again. So now my this user is not having access to do. Now let's again try to access to do, and I came back to login page. Now login with the same user which is not having access to do. Let's submit. So I again came to do, but this time I am not able to see the to do link because we are hiding that link based on the claim value. But Ideally, I should get back to login page instead of keeping a stay on to do page. So we need to make that changes as well. So let's start for that. So this is our routing, and here if you will see, if you will press control then space, so you can see all the options which we can pass. So we are having one option that's called data. So we can you can read this additional developer defined data provided to the component via activated route. So by default, no additional data is passed, but we can pass as per our requirement. So let's use this. And inside this data, what object I'm going to pass is that's I am passing is a route axis. Any key you can give, and the value I'm going to give the same value what we are having in our security model. So that is a to do. So let's copy this to do. Make sure you are copying correctly, and let's add this as a string, and let's add one comma here, and let's copy this and paste it same for our dashboard. And here I should copy this can access dashboard, and let's paste it here. So by this, with our route we are passing this additional data. Now let's come back to our auth card. So in auth card, in the can activate, we are having one parameter called next, which is having activated route snapshot. So in that we can get the values. So let's add one condition here, or let's check what values we are getting. So I can see next dot data. So this is the data what we are passing from our routing. So here, instead of just checking is authenticated, I am going to check if can access to do or can access dashboard. So let's copy this security model, paste it here, and now I can use this next.data, and this data is having a object called, let's see what is object name. So object name is route access. So let's copy this and paste it here. So we are having a properties can access to do and can access dashboard in our security model. So because of that, I told you to make sure to give the exactly same name what properties we are having in our security model. So by that we are checking if user is having access to do or dashboard, then only I am going to return true, else it will return false. But here also I will, instead of just keeping it on the same page, let's add one more condition in the else block also. So I'm going to add if this dot security model, and I'm checking if he's not having access, then I'm going to give one alert that's called not authorized to access this URL. And with that alert, let's navigate to login page. So let's copy this and paste it here, and here I don't want to pass this return URL because that is a unauthorized URL. So there is no any sense to pass this return URL here. So let's remove this, and here I will add one else condition, and let's wrap this code inside our else. Now let's go back to browser and let's see if I am trying to navigate to our to do. So what's happening? So this is our application. Now let's try to navigate to to-do. So I came back to our login page. Now I am giving my valid username and password 12345, and this user is not having a claim value for to do, which is false. So let's see what happened next. So instead of redirecting to do, I am getting a message not authorized to access this URL, and also my return URL is cleared now. And now we don't have any return URL, so let's see if my user is able to navigate to home page, which is our dashboard page, or not. So I entered my password and let's click on submit. So yeah, I am able to access my dashboard. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we will work on reactive form. So earlier we created a template driven form for our registration page and we added a validation for that. But template driven form is recommended when the form is not having much validation, much logic. And for a small form, it is recommended to use a template driven form. But when you have complex validations, and so recommended way is to use reactive form. And also, as we don't have validation in our HTML, so reactive form is more unit testing friendly. So see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.